I decided to join Eclypses because it basically runs like an AWS native service. It's a containerized solution, so it runs on ECS or EKS, which is Elastic Kubernetes systems or Elastic containers. And then it also auto-scales to fluctuate with traffic using Amazon Load Balancer. And most SaaS companies, they don't actually drive AWS consumption, so I thought that was super neat. But I also loved that we as a product, we run in the customer's VPC, and it gives customers complete control of their data so that they don't have to rely on any third party. So I thought that was a really cool, just kind of wraparound security, extra layer of security that was pretty unique in the market. There's no one doing quite what Eclypses is doing. And what that is data encryption in transit. So we run at the application layer, and in Taman's terms, I like to call it, if you think about today TLS or SSL as like the pipe that data runs through. If the pipe gets broken, the bad actor has access to the data that's flowing through the pipe. We're essentially protecting the data itself. So even if a bad actor does get in, they're not getting anything of value, and it's just that extra layer of security that's kind of unique and kind of revolutionizing the data space. So we started with, it was before I came on board actually, our C-suite they had experiences from their past lives buying software through AWS Marketplace, but they didn't have any experience selling through it. And so Tackle.io was someone, I believe there's a friend of a friend in the C-suite, is how we initially got connected. But we got connected in order to gain that experience from the ISV perspective. I think it's our CRO, Larry Murray. He's the one with the relationship with Tackle's CEO. So that's why we chose Tackle. And it was also a good fit for our specific go-to-market strategy. So I've been in co-sell with AWS for a while. It's kind of my jam. I love it. The goal of co-sell is really to enhance the value to the customer and meet the customer where they want to buy. So my approach is to really focus on the customer value and then also focus on relationship building within the AWS ecosystem. There's a notion of building up like a champion funnel. So we think of people who know who we are at AWS as contacts. We think of people who will sort of reactively promote us if we come to them first as advocates. And then champions are the ones who are really kind of like emotionally invested in our success on AWS. So we focus on making those one-on-one connections with our current customers and our pipeline, and then creating champions that will kind of go forth and spread the good word of Eclypses. And so I really think of like AWS almost as an extension of our own sales and marketing team, but that better together messaging, and there is a lot of sort of building trust that we have to do. So when I first came on board in April, we were brand new to ACE, which is essentially like the customer engagement center with AWS. And so I started just by registering all of our current customers and our active opportunities in order to connect with the aligned reps on those accounts and see if there is extra value that we could add to the customer, or if there were programs that they could maybe take advantage of that would make it advantageous for them to buy through the AWS Marketplace. I've used Tackle at every company that I've worked for. So I started my career in tech at Auth0, who did authorization and authentication for customer-facing applications. And we used Tackle at Auth0, and also when we were acquired by Okta, they were also leveraging Tackle. When I moved over to Tynes, I also used Tackle. So I'm very well, I guess, practiced in it. But every single time I switch careers or move up, I do like to retake the initial workshop that you guys have, because things do change, and it's just nice to have all that information delivered to you in a nice packaged bow. So best practices, let's see. I guess like when I first started at Eclypses, we were super brand new to the marketplace. Like we had a listing up, but we hadn't like done any transactions through it. I think the listing was live like 2 days before I came on board. And we didn't have a PDM, which is like your partner development manager at AWS. It's the person that makes sure that you are in the right programs and you're taking advantage of, the partnership benefits. And so Tackle was kind of like our partner development manager before we had somebody at AWS assigned. So they really gave us like the roadmap of how to get started. And they got Eclypses web, mobile, and API solutions onto the marketplace in the first place. We started with AWS, and then we recently went live in Azure as well. And we have the goals to have GCP by mid next year. So that's been huge. It's helping to get us listed in the marketplace in the first place, and then providing that organization as we do sell with the deals. And then I think because David Gomes, or we call him DG, he's our CEO, he'd interviewed with you guys a few months back, and he was mentioning the high quality leads that came from Tackle.io. And what he means by that is the sales team is leveraging Tackle's propensity to buy scoring, basically to prioritize who we're going to reach out to and who we're going to target as a company to make sure that we're aligning with the cloud. And then it will also show, Tackle also shows us high engagement and their propensity to buy through marketplace. And so that kind of data is really useful for the sales team. So Tackle's technology is really an excellent fit for our alliance-driven strategy. It basically simplifies and accelerates our ability to leverage the marketplace for partner collaboration. We've also gotten a lot of enablement. We have partners that are basically resellers or referral partners of Eclypses that weren't yet on AWS Marketplace, and Tackle was able to basically give us training on how to get those partners up and running so that we can allow a customer to purchase through a reseller on the AWS Marketplace. I've worked on the AWS side of the house in past companies, and with Eclypses being deployable on Azure and GCP soon, Tackle has been a tremendous help in understanding those new ecosystems and those new go-to-market strategies. I love Tackle Prospect. What I personally love most is probably two things. The first, sales enablement, and then the marketing analytics. It's basically like detailed insights into which buyers are exploring your marketplace listing and their level of interest. The sales enablement basically equips our teams with like the prospecting tools I mentioned before to help us know who to target and how to nurture potential marketplace buyers. And then it also provides data-driven insights so we can have more meaningful conversations with the prospects with the obvious value of speeding and simplifying procurement for the customer who we already know wants to buy or has bought before through Marketplace. I love working with our Tackle coach. We work with Patrick Briley. He's the cloud go-to-market principal. He's been at Tackle almost 3 years now. He's super knowledgeable, but he's also just a cool guy. He's a dad. He volunteers at the NC Business Emergency Operations Center. He's kind of local hero, but he's always one step ahead with our go-to-market strategy. I know my manager is Dan Lemoyne, and he meets with Patrick on a weekly basis. And Patrick is always like sharp. He has the answer for us, and he's super diligent with follow-up. I try to join those calls as often as I can. But I know Dan has found tremendous value in working with Patrick. I think, our C-suite really raves about Tackle because I think before I got here, they would say they didn't know what they didn't know. And so Tackle was really their first kind of flashlight into navigating the dark arts of AWS. For me personally, I have, a bias for action. Like I move really quickly. And what I love is that Tackle keeps me organized, especially things that go through Marketplace and the prospecting system. So it keeps everything in one place, keeps me organized. And we have Patrick to keep us on track and make sure that we're growing and accelerating. I think another thing I like is I said having everything in one place, but it's also the documentation and that Tackle is staying ahead of the trends. So, even though I've been in this AWS Alliance role for a long time, things move super quickly at AWS, and it's nice to have sort of that trusted advisor keeping you in the know of new changes. And the documentation is great, but also the sales training is great as well because it's systemized and it's just it's readily available to the teams. There's lots to love at Tackle.